Hello, my name's Derek McLeod. I'm an electrical assessor. I'm currently at Hertford Regional College, and welcome to yet another one of my videos on my YouTube channel. And I've put these together to help and support my electrical apprentices who are on their level 3 Sitting Guilds 5357 journey. This video is for Unit 118. Terminate and connect conductors. It was previously numbered as Unit 108, but it is essentially the same thing. We've got some slight changes, which I'll talk about in the next few slides. And the idea behind this is not intended to be an exhaustive list where we run through each and every criteria. I need you to read some documents, qualification handbook, available on the Sitting Guilds website, and the workplace logbook, which on the Sitting Guilds website is password protected. So if you can get that from your training provider or your college, then do so. Nothing better than a paper copy rather than continually looking onto computer screens and your smartphones to help and guide you in collating your evidence, because that's what we're trying to do here for your portfolio. Get it evidenced, get your portfolio completed, and get you ready and prepared for your endpoint assessment. And for you folks, it's your AM2S. So hopefully you find this helpful. Please comment and share to your fellow apprentices who are on the same journey as yourself. Now, I mentioned the previous slide, there's some slight change from Sitting Guilds on this new level 3 pathway. That involves both the content of the qualification, certainly the workplace evidence, and indeed the endpoint assessment, which for you will be an AM2S. Now, Sitting Guilds are still working on that endpoint assessment. You've still got a little bit of time before you get there on that journey. But it's envisaged that the AM2S will now incorporate a 90-minute professional discussion, which will cover some of the range and scope and behaviours that we'll look on through these series of videos. Now, in this slide, I've just put up one of those significant changes which actually applies, as I've highlighted it in here, to this very unit. And the difference between the previous pathway and this one is the requirement of Sitting Guilds that evidence is produced from a non-domestic environment. This is just an extract from the workplace logbook. Okay, there's a little bit more information, but essentially it says at least one of the assessments for this unit, and I've highlighted 118, terminate and connect conductors, must occur in a commercial or industrial setting. So you can see straight away that domestic environments, you won't be able to complete your portfolio, and it won't stand up to scrutiny at IQA or EQA verification stage. Now, that's a significant change from Sitting Guilds, but it isn't something that is a deal breaker for you. But be aware of it. So ensure that if your work spans across those working environments, both domestic, industrial and commercial, that you ensure that you're gathering evidence, submitting evidence from not just a domestic environment, because you're going to fall short of what is required if you do so. Now, as part of your portfolio, you'll be required to evidence the behaviour requirements of this NVQ side of your qualification. And I've listed all of the 8 behaviours on here. For some of the units, they don't require all 8, but for this unit, Unit 118, terminate and connect conductors, it requires that all 8 behaviours are evidenced. Now, those behaviours will be naturally occurring. So as you submit evidence, or as you're observed by your assessor in the workplace, you will be demonstrating that you're safe, okay, that you dispose of waste material, okay. So it's naturally occurring, but be aware of what the behaviours are. Ensure that when you're submitting evidence that your assessor can clearly see how the behaviours have been met. Now in this unit, behaviour 8, B8, is part of the ones that you would be expected to evidence. So we need to see you promote green technologies when appropriate. But that might be for you, it might be a conversation with the customer or client, okay, where you're advocating more energy efficient types of products, for example, swapping over other forms of lighting to LED. The heating systems, advocating the use of greener technology systems in the heating systems, or smart heating controls in the heating systems. So be aware of these technologies, take the opportunity to evidence it in this unit. So this is the last slide on this short video for terminate and connect conductors to electrical equipment. And we can see that I've just taken a snippet. This is not meant to be an exhaustive list of all the performance criteria. I would expect you to read and look at the performance criteria for not just this unit, but all of the 6 workplace units that you're trying to evidence, so that you're aware of everything that you need to produce evidence in. So you're either going to have to write it, say it, or ensure that your assessor observes you. Okay, so I've just taken this extract from the workplace logbook, and it says you need to connect cables. How many? 5. Okay, and you've got to do it on at least 2 separate occasions. You're going to have to produce photographic evidence for those items as well, and that supports your testimony. If it's been observed by your assessor, most likely your assessor will be taking some photographs or capturing a video to support that. But if you are submitting reflective accounts, then ensure that we've got some photographs, because part of what the assessor has to do is ensure that the work is safe, reliable, okay? It's your work. So images of you installing support the testimony and the evidence that you write about or talk about or do. So what does City and Guild claim? Well, on at least 2 occasions, we need to see you terminate cables, connect cables. How many? 5 cables, okay? And you can see the list on this screen. You can read it in the qualification handbook. You can read it in your workplace logbook. And we've also got, I think, the introduction of some new cable on here, which is just, again, another example of why City and Guilds are changing and updating the qualification, because technologies move on. We've got greater use of greener and renewable technologies. We've got greater use of DC cabling as part of that. So we can see now that in that list, it also includes data and power over Ethernet cabling. It includes DC cabling, as well as your traditional cable types that were on the previous version of this qualification. And hopefully when you're connecting the cable up or cables up, you're connecting it to electrical equipment. And indeed, as part of this unit, you need to evidence that you've connected to a minimum of 5 different types of electrical components on at least 2 occasions. So there we go, 5 different cable types connected to 5 different types of electrical component. And if you notice at the bottom of that, yes, it says for each termination, it says that connections are electrically and mechanically sound. So that's your workmanship that's going to be scrutinised. Ensure the cables have the appropriate identification in accordance with the current version BS7671. So again, ensure that that is stated. Ensure that you are stating you're sleeving, for example, a CPC appropriately. As I said, there are other performance criteria in this unit. Be aware of all of them. Okay, so the tips for this unit is your assessor. Okay, bearing in mind we've got the behaviours to consider. So when we're terminating conductors, ensuring that we're working safely, and it's another performance criteria in this unit. It's not listed in the slides, but it's in the unit. Be aware of it. You're going to evidence that you're safe because you're going to check for the presence of voltage, aren't you? You're going to ensure that before you connect anything up, that there's no presence of any current. So we're safely isolated, haven't we? And there are other performance criteria that you will do as part of connecting. And the phrase here on each one of these, whether you're terminating the conductors, but certainly when you're connecting to the electrical components, is that it's prompting you. Just look at the titles here: terminate and connect cables in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions, the wiring regs. So these are standard phrases that you should be ensuring that you evidence when you connect to the electrical equipment. You do so and you reference the manufacturer's instructions. These are very common mistakes that I see. People simply talk about, I connected this cable to that electrical component, this cable to a socket. Well, that's not the level of information and professional technical terminology that you need to be demonstrating. So connected cable to a socket outlet, for example, using a screw connection method, using my flathead screwdriver. And in doing so, okay, when I've made the termination, I've given it a simple tug test to ensure that it's in tightly. I've visually inspected it to ensure that we're not trapping the insulation on the conductor on the termination, or indeed that there's too much copper exposed. And I've connected in accordance to and read the manufacturer's instructions. That's an expectation. It's a simple phrase to include. And that's how we evidence for this unit. So hopefully this has been helpful. You can leave comments and feedback, and I'll change this depending on the feedback I get if necessary. But as always, make sure you prepare to submit your workplace evidence. Make sure you know what it is that you're trying to evidence because you've read it, and take every opportunity to meet as much of the performance criteria. For the most simplest of tasks, take the opportunity to say it, to write it, or to ensure that your assessor observes it, because that's how we work smarter and how we get this finished quicker.